decentralize it, meaning no longer having a middleman.
So there was this, and this is a 17-minute long video. So I'm not. You can watch the video, ladies and gentlemen. I pieced this together the best that I could. I reached out for comment. This is the so-called Ethereum gate, though it's not limited to. But this is a call you had with a guy named Joe Lubin, who's the chief operating officer of, I guess, Ethereum, right?
Correct.
And co-founder. And this is a call that you recorded. I have an audio of this call. Why was it surreptitiously recorded 10 years ago?
So at some point I had an add-on to my Skype that was recording some calls.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And at one point it wasn't actually intentional. But then when I started getting more suspicious, I actually did start.
So I mean, as a general rule, I mean, I get unknown calls all the time. I got, for those of you just joining us, we're talking to Steven Narioff. He's one of the people who laid the groundwork for founding Ethereum. He's a savant with 40 patents, and I've reviewed some 1,000 documents related to his case. Steven, why does this matter? Why are we talking to Steven? Many of you don't understand what Ethereum is. I didn't even fully understand what Ethereum is, so I'm trying to wrap my mind around it. Steven Narioff declined a grand total of about 1 million Ether through his help in the beginning of Ethereum. And so this is a phone call that you had with the chief operating officer of Ethereum, secretly recorded, or perhaps recorded by Skype because you clicked the box. Let's listen to this phone call.
Your emails, because I mean those, you don't know who's going to be keeping those, and you don't know.
Exactly. And again, as we've discussed, there's a tension between running an open, transparent organization and protecting ourselves. And so maybe we agree to be open and transparent, except for everything from 90 days ago and past, because it's all gone. It's sort of like the way cryptocurrencies work. There isn't a trail that you don't want there to be.
I mean, look.
So he's saying there that there isn't a trail, and Steven, you think that with cryptocurrency there should be a trail. Is that correct?
It's absolutely fundamental to the core of cryptocurrency. It's called immutability. So once something like on the Bitcoin blockchain, when a transaction happens, every single transaction that's ever happened on the Bitcoin blockchain, you can go back and see, and they can't be erased. It basically turns a blockchain into a database. It's not a blockchain anymore. That's one of the key components of it.
Now this is Joe Lubin. Now, the devil's advocate might say that Lubin, if you're just tuning in, this is Joe Lubin, the chief operating officer of Ethereum, talking to a man who claims that he was responsible for, he did in fact donate a lot of resources to Ethereum at the start. Steven, how do I pronounce your last name? Narioff. I'm going to go ahead and call Joe Lubin for comment. I actually did reach out for him for comment. I have not heard back, but I'm using a different phone now, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to use a different phone number. We're live, and anything can happen. I have a pretty good success rate of getting for comments. So let's just see if Lubin picks up the phone. Maybe Lubin's listening right now. I don't know. Anything can happen. The phone is not working. It's not placing the call. So maybe we use a different phone. We're having technical issues. Lots of technical issues on this show. Everything's breaking. I don't know if that's a coincidence. Let's try a sec. We have a lot of phones here at O'Keefe Media Group. A lot of burner phones, ladies and gentlemen. Always have multiple phones. I think there's a song about that, Luigi. The lyrics are pretty bad. They're pretty vulgar. We're going to use a third phone. Here we go, Joe Lubin. Let's see if he picks up the phone. Chief Operating Officer of Ethereum. We're going to double call, and then we'll keep going. We'll do it live. Let's get those comments up. I like to read the comments. All right, Lubin didn't answer. Okay, so Stephen, let's continue on with Stephen Narioff. There's a couple documents in this video. You can watch the video where it shows you talking about how much money you gave, and then there's this other guy as part of this something called Consensus. This is a company that Stephen, you helped found. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And why did now, just so the audience knows what we're talking about, Consensus came out against you and said that you are, quote, not a co-creator of Ethereum. Why would they do that?
In May of 2017, the same month that Bill Heyman got to the SEC, the Ethereum Foundation itself started to claim that I had never had anything to do with the project. And then Consensus, which is a company that I started with Joe, actually before Joe joined me. And then they did that. Plus, I would just say one other thing. Andrew Keys, who was Joe's main partner, he also put out a discrediting post on X. I called him out on it. He deleted it.
All right, let's listen. Hold on, before we get into the weeds on this, let's listen to this Consensus. This guy's name is Evan Van Ness, and he's who is Evan Van Ness? Stephen, he's the an officer of Ethereum.
Right.
All right, let's listen to this. A company founded by Joe Lubin's company and Stephen Narioff started to go on a public relations campaign against Stephen Narioff, with Evan Van Ness, an officer of Ethereum, claiming in an email newsletter that Stephen Narioff is not a co-creator of Ethereum. We reached out to Van Ness for comment this week and received a response. In fact, Van Ness sent O'Keefe Media Group screenshots that Stephen Narioff made to Democratic Senator from Rhode Island, Sheldon Whitehouse. So the one guy, Stephen, I did get I reached out to all these people for comment, because that's what journalists should do. You need to get the other side of the story, presuming it's a he said, she said situation. Stephen, they did send me screenshots of you donating to Democratic U.S. Senator Sheldon Whitehouse. Now, I've also heard reports, Stephen, that you are a supporter of Donald Trump and you're more on the Republican. So why are you donating to Democratic U.S. Senator Sheldon Whitehouse?
Actually, the agent provocateur, Michael Halady, had introduced me to Sheldon Whitehouse in order to do blockchain work with the state of Rhode Island. And in doing so, I gave a retainer to a lawyer that he introduced me to. And I believe as part of that, they may have given a donation, a contribution to a primary. I hadn't even known that until you were.
Well, the FEC, you didn't know. Well, the FEC records show that you've given money to him as of March 27th, 2018, $2,700 to Democratic U.S. Senator from Rhode Island. You're saying that this agent provocateur, which we'll get to in a minute, that you hired, was working with you to make this occur?
And what it involved was having a lunch, a 2.5-hour lunch with Sheldon Whitehouse and the agent provocateur, discussing about how to do business in Rhode Island.
All right, let's get to this. For those of you listening, we're very in the weeds here, but that's what this story is. It's about a possible conspiracy. I'm not saying it is true or false. I'm just reporting the facts here, that the United States government targeted a man of a crime he did not commit, because this man, Stephen Narioff is his name, believes that cryptocurrency, particularly Ethereum, should be decentralized. And it's this belief about centralization versus decentralization and control, which I think everybody can understand that part of it, certainly affects me in a different realm, that has made you a target. Question is that why you are a target? That's the question. We're trying to ascertain the answer, so let's go to this weird guy that you hired. His name is Michael Halady, but his is his real name Halady or is his fake name Halady? Because he also goes by Michael Peters, Stephen. So which is his real name?
So I was introduced to him as Michael Peters.
Okay.
He told me he was a former decorated, of all of those agencies you mentioned.
All right. So let's go to this Michael Peters character. See if we can find this. This is really strange. Here we go. Under the loyalty program, Steve could repay the Ether or have StormX take the collateral. There were no set terms on repayment. The loan was interest-free. To make things more nefarious and complicated, meet this man named Michael Halady, who used the alias Michael Peters, at various times falsely claimed to be a former member of the United States military, a former government agent who had worked for the NSA, the National Security Agency, the FBI, and the CIA. Halady was hired by Steven Nerioff to be a consultant to him to do background checks and other work regarding other people. This is all in court documents in this case. There you can see them. And there you see a photo of Michael Halady. Now, did Halady, this is a guy that Steven Nerioff hired who may be an agent provocateur. Stephen, did you know that Halady was he told you all this crazy shit, like he worked for the IRA and the FBI and the NSA. Did he tell you this when you hired him?
Yes. And technically, he told me I was hiring a large consulting firm that he worked for.
And didn't it raise a red flag to you that this guy said all this crazy stuff?
It did, except what counteracted that was he introduced me to an FBI agent because somebody had stolen money from me. And that FBI agent, and he said he was friends with them. And the FBI agent referred to him as Michael Peters as well. And I said, oh, okay, so this really is his friend. So the FBI is the one that gave him credibility in my eyes.
The FBI gave him credibility. Lady had sent a message to the folks at StormX saying that we're going to sue you. Halady also said he would, quote, destroy your community, which Steven Nerioff team claims is just an ugly metaphor, perhaps a figure of speech, but was not exactly extortion. Nevertheless, in this document filed under seal, an FBI agent in the Eastern District of New York named Jordan R. Anderson said it was extortion. Nerioff stated, in sub and substance, that if John Doe and Jane Doe did not agree, then Nerioff would, among other things, sabotage the crowd sale, destroy the company. So this is very complicated, ladies and gentlemen, but I'm going to simplify it for you. This is an allegation by the FBI that Steven Nerioff, who's on the phone with me, had extorted. Who did they allege that you extorted, Steven?
A company called StormX.
StormX, and they said that you extorted StormX because you this Michael Halady character threatened to destroy or said something about threatening to destroy other people. Is that right?
Well, he apparently sent a text message without my knowledge, and he said destroy your community. Technically speaking, there's no way to destroy a community. That's like.
So you were saying that this was some way of kind of a figure of speech. It wasn't really literal extortion.
Well, there was no threat of violence or anything like that. I mean, it's like saying this right now, what we're doing right now on the spaces, this is a community, the same way that StormX has a community. Can we destroy this community? No, I mean, it's an intangible. So of course, it's a figure of speech.
All right, let's listen to the rest of it. Also, this Halady character who had very bizarrely told others that he had been shot and killed people and taken down a head of state. He also said he was part of the Irish Republican Army. Very strange. It's a mystery who this man really... Now, did he tell you he was part of the IRA as well before you hired him?
No, but he did tell me that shortly before I realized that he wasn't who he said he was.
I see. He is, and why he involved himself with Steven Nerioff in the first place. Nerioff claims this Halady guy was hired to, again, assist him. But he became a sort of agent provocateur, the argument goes, to cause issues that the government could then use against Steven Nerioff. In May of 2018 at the Hilton Hotel in Manhattan, Steve Halady and this other person, Ari Yu, held a meeting that was surreptitiously recorded. In a transcript of that recording, Narioff goes back and forth with this. So we're in a meeting in a hotel that was recorded. You're sitting next to this guy, Peters, a.k.a. Halady, and it was confirmed by you that you did not recall threatening to destroy, but you recall Michael Halady saying that. That's a transcript that's in the court documents here. Peters, Halady guy, in front of you, an executive at Storm X. Now, in the transcript here, it says, I did not call threatening to destroy, but I do recall Michael Halady did. The FBI stated in their sworn statement that Narioff affirmed that he knew of Michael Halady's quote-unquote threat to destroy. And Michael Peters, a.k.a. Michael Halady, said, yes, I did. Now, Narioff says he never threatened anybody, Storm X, and the allegations against him weren't true. But the government did charge Stephen with a crime and named Halady as his co-conspirator based upon the text message that was sent by Halady, apparently unbeknownst to Stephen, but on his behalf. Stephen was charged with extortion. The government said he forced them to negotiate the original deal. But the court eventually granted the government's motion to dismiss the case against Stephen. All right, Stephen, just stand by. We're going to get to your attorney, Michael Scotto, and we're going to talk about why the government granted the motion to dismiss. Just stand by, hold on for just about 1 or 2 minutes. Because we're doing investigations into the White House, the IRS, and now the Secretary of Defense, Pentagon personnel, I'm personally very concerned about how every move and communication of my journalism team is being tracked by our phones. The people who support us, millions of you, are rightfully concerned and worried about being tracked and having your private information compromised. One of the things I know for sure is that with the smartphone you are likely using, you are being listened to and tracked 24/7. They can see our texts, they can see our emails, they know where we go, who we call, which and storing your personal information and using it to monitor you and to monetize our data. We thought our phone is the product, but the reality is the product is us, and our personal information is the product. And by the way, even when we think our phone is off, it's still listening. I'm excited to announce that the days of our phones harvesting our personal private information for the benefit of big tech and big government ends right now. Because of a new smartphone developed by Eric Prince, the phone is called Unplugged. Unplugged is built with a totally independent operating system that is absolutely secure. No tracking us in apps. Every call and text is end-to-end encrypted. They can't listen in or follow our online activity, and if we were ever under threat, we can send a code and our data is totally wiped. And I love that it has the camera, speed, storage, and chipset that rival the iPhone and Android. If you're like me, I've had it as a journalist or any citizen that wants to protect their privacy. I've had it with all of my personal and private information being exposed and exploited by big tech and big government. So I'm joining Eric Prince, Mr. Pentagon Guy, and I'm switching to my new unplugged phone. And I'm also going to tell you how you can also. So grab a pen, write this down. To protect your privacy and get your very own unplugged phone, that's unplugged.com/OMG. That's unplugged.com/OMG. Take your privacy back. Unplugged.com/OMG. All right, we're back with Stephen Narioff and his attorney, Michael Scotto. Are you there?
Yes, sir.
All right, so Michael, you're the attorney for Stephen. Now, it's really bizarre, and my audience keeps asking me this question. We're on the phone. For those of you just joining us, Michael Scotto, the attorney for Stephen Narioff, digging through all these court documents, exhibits, screenshots, checks, text messages, recordings, surreptitious meetings, spy versus spy. The court granted the government's motion to dismiss the case against Stephen Narioff. The U.S. government, I mean, the argument goes there was some type of conspiracy to target your client, yet the government granted a motion to dismiss the case against your client. How does that work?
Well, it works this way, right? They only made that motion to dismiss the case after we drew the attention to what had gone on, brought a motion before the court. And we asked for the case to be dismissed. We said to the court, listen, Steve's charged with extortion. We can prove that he didn't commit an extortion. We can prove that the government had these emails and text messages that showed there was no extortion, many, many months before he got arrested. He was indicted. In order to be indicted, you have to have evidence in the grand jury that there was extortion, and clearly the grand jury must have heard perjured testimony. We still have something called the Fifth Amendment in this country, a grand jury clause, and so that's the motion that we made. The government opposed it, said, Judge, no, you can't look at what happened here, but, by the way, as a result of this exculpatory material that we've just recently been able to get, we can't prove Mr. Nerios' guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. So even when they were dismissing it, they're not exactly giving him a clean bill of health because they're saying they can't prove his guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. But obviously, if somebody's innocent, you can't prove their guilt.
Well, it's still highly unusual for a federal court to. Is it unusual? Let me rephrase.
It is unusual for a federal court to review the grand jury minutes. There's not a provision for that actually in federal law, except in unique circumstances. And we were asking the court we thought this was a very unique circumstance.
Now let me ask you a question. I'm speaking to the lawyer for Steven Nerioff. The government came after your client for extortion over this statement of the guy that your client hired about threatening to destroy a community. What was the language that was alleged to be used by this agent provocateur?
Well, basically, it was that, Steve was going to sue. We were going to sue. We're going to publicly expose you. There's going to be a news story, and we're going to destroy your community. Obviously, those were not polite words, but this was in response to this company not providing with Steve a single of, these 2.53 billion tokens that he was supposed to get, which ranged in value from $300 to $500 million, and they didn't give him a single token. So there was an actual legitimate dispute. Steve had a claim of right, and a lady's text was a little harsh. Ironically though, Steve didn't tell him to send the text.
So you're saying it was harsh but not illegal?
No, not illegal at all.
Okay, and so let's go back to the FBI. Was it a raid? Was it a search? Was it what exactly was it?
The FBI had a warrant to arrest Steve, and they proceeded to enter his apartment. Steve, we laid it out in the papers that we filed in court, and they came in, and obviously they were armed, and then they conducted a search. According to Steve, they conducted a search, although there was no search warrant. We asked for a copy of the search warrant. We weren't given one. They said they didn't seize anything. And then, lo and behold, like about 10 days after the indictment was ultimately dismissed, I was able to get Steve's cell phone back, which apparently they had seized.
So they did seize it. Are they allowed to do that?
Well, in the absence of a warrant, no, right? They could have searched the apartment to see if anybody was there with weapons, right? I mean, there's a safety issue. Sure, they're going in, but, they can't go rifling through drawers. They can't take anything out unless it was contraband. If this was a drug case and they wanted
when the FBI seized my 2 cell phones, they had a search warrant, and there was a sealed affidavit. I never got to see the probable cause because there never was an indictment against me.
That's how that works.
And in your case, you're telling me that there was no search warrant?
We asked for one. We were never provided with one. They certainly didn't show Steve one on the day of his arrest, which, as it turns out, it was the day of a search. Yeah.
Let's go back to this deal, this new deal screenshot. Michael or Steven, either you can address. It's on the screen for those of you on Rumble, YouTube. This is some type of deal that was given to Steve.
Right, so it's pretty simple. In July of 2017, Steve and this company had worked out a deal, and at some point after then, they realized that there was some mutual misunderstanding, so the deal had to be reworked. So the deal wasn't reworked because Steve extorted them and tried to get a better deal. The deal was reworked because they all realized, hey, we made some basic misunderstandings here, and in fact, the government had those emails that said, hey, we got to rework the deal, and then they were going back and forth with, what do you think about this, and what do you think about that? And again, in that recording that Steve has released, the Skype video from November of 2017, they're saying, why are you upset? We're giving you more than you asked for, right? So where's the extortion?
I see. So so why do you think the government came after your client?
Well, look, that's the $64,000 question. I don't know why they came after him. Steve certainly believes various reasons why, but all I can tell you is, generally the government isn't in the practice of arresting and indicting people without any evidence. So the fact that they did that and we were able to show that, and then when we exposed them, they actually moved to dismiss. I think, some of these things people call tinfoil hat, theories, and maybe they would be, except in this case, nothing about this case makes sense. So I can't tell you why the government did it, but certainly I think, many of the reasons that Steve has offered, do make sense given the timeline.
You're listening to Michael Scotto, attorney for Stephen Narioff, at the center of the ETH scandal, crypto mafia as it's called. I'm not taking a position on this. I'm just trying to understand the facts, to give the facts to an audience that has not yet heard them. There's also this recording from an interview. This is a guy named Vitalik Buterin, the man who co-created Ethereum, talking about Stephen Narioff.
Stephen is definitely a separate case. Like Ethereum before about 2015, like there's definitely this founding team, and the founding team had like a lot of characters that today I definitely don't approve of, and at the time I had no idea how to even like tell apart good people from bad people, and pretty much everyone seemed reasonable to me, and so like at the time I definitely didn't have the ability to kind of detect the problems in someone like Stephen Narioff. And I think since then, the Ethereum Foundation has gotten much better. Since then,
we've also Stephen, if you're still there, that's Vitalik criticizing you and detecting problems in you. Your response to that?
It's a hit piece. Vitalik, when the Ethereum Foundation, I put this recording, it's a 3-hour recording. Vitalik, the only person he trusted and actually knew the organization better than he did was me. And he asked me to save the Ethereum Foundation, and it's all recorded for everybody to listen to. Now, this recording was happening while I was under indictment. And he knows nothing about my case or anything. So when he's saying massive fraud, he has no idea about anything. Meanwhile, he's saying that I was a mistake, except I happened to be the most important person and the most person he trusted the most to save the entire foundation. So something changed in the middle.
What do you think changed?
Let's see if I put it this way. I know when did it change? The month I was introduced to the CEO of StormX, the month that Bill Hinman got to the SEC, and the month that the Ethereum Foundation started sending letters out to journalists who were quoting me as an advisor to.
Let's talk about the Bill Hinman, who was then what was his position at the SEC?
It was
Director of Corporate Finance. I think we have a section of this video for the SEC.
2018. Bill Hinman, who at the time was the Director of Corporate Finance at the Securities and Exchange Commission, was working on a new legal framework to decide which cryptocurrencies would be classified as securities. The Independent Securities and Exchange Commission is a government agency which enforces the law against market manipulation. In his now infamous speech in the crypto community, Hinman declared that Ethereum, was not a security, which was seen as a green light for the project, and which some in the crypto community call a free pass. Money that started to pour into Ethereum as a result of this regulatory clarity. This is apparently the heart of the philosophical dispute between Stephen Narioff and basically other people. If a network is sufficiently decentralized, it doesn't need disclosures that a security would require, as it operates without a central authority controlling its operations. This decentralization is also what distinguishes utility tokens from securities, as they are not tied.
Can you talk a little about that distinction, Stephen, for people who are not familiar with this?
Sure. When the reason the Ethereum reached out to me I've been in the space and done work with a lot of people. And the issue that they were having is they wanted to sell this new thing called the token, and they were calling it Ether. But they were told by all the lawyers that if they sell it, it would be an unregistered sale of securities. And they asked me if I could figure out a way to sell it legally, including within the United States and within the laws of the United States. Fortunately, I had some great people around me, like Joe Grunfuss, the former chairman of the SEC, and we were able to come up with, essentially, we came up with this product narrative. And what we were saying is that this token is actually a product because it has utility. And so it's very similar to, in Ether's case, you need to have Ether even to send it, or these decentralized applications, you have to feed Ether in order to make them run.
All
so
right.
It's kind of like fuel.
Okay, so this is. Do you believe that the government is going after you because of what you stand for? Is that what you believe?
I believe it's. Well, okay, so yes, and more. And what happened was the work that I did provided legal clarity within the laws of the United States of America that the SEC was unwilling to provide themselves. And the product narrative and also the ICE.
Stephen, are you still there?
Yeah, can you hear? The product narrative and the ICO, what those did was when crypto was embryonic, it put a shield around it. They couldn't attack the projects as easily, and the ICO allowed them to raise tens of billions of dollars. So the irony is, I was, I guess, on their quote-unquote hit list because I provided guidance to stay within the laws of the United States, and apparently they didn't want that.
Now, let me ask you one more question before I ask the meta questions, because the meta questions are fascinating. I'm really in the weeds, but that's the nature of what we do at O'Keefe Media. We get into the weeds. I find facts to be stubborn and unyielding things, and I think facts are very fascinating. Who is Simon Yu? Was that the Storm X executive?
He was presented to me as the CEO of StormX. I was literally walking at a conference. Some people will know it's called Consensus. I believe at the Marriott Marquis. Where I was walking in the hallway.
So he's a StormX executive.
So, yes.
And he was in the room with you with the call with this hotel room call where it was recorded. Was he there?
Yes.
And who is Ari Yu? Another StormX executive?
But Simon was the CEO. She was the president.
All right. And they were in the room with you when this call was being made?
They were in the room and making accusations, and somebody was secretly recording that meeting.
Who was secretly recording it?
They would not tell us. It was just, we know that when I started defending myself, she kept shutting me down, and it's in the recording, and then she shut it off.
Who kept shutting you down? Who kept shutting you down?
RAU. When I tried to explain to her, I said, look, I didn't threaten you. I said, what happened was I was trying to help all of us. And she said, please stop talking. And I said, wait, I'm trying to explain to you what happened. You're misunderstanding. Please stop talking. And she said it 4 times. And then they stopped the meeting.
And then we're going to go ahead and give both Ari Yu and Simon Yu. We're going to go ahead and give them both phone calls right now. Let's see if they answer the call. I've reached out to all these people for comment, but they don't answer my phone, so I'm calling from different phones. Bear with me, audience. About 30 seconds here. This is Ari Yu and Simon Yu. Are they still at StormX, by the way?
Ari is not. Simon is.
Maybe they're listening right now. They hang up the phone or they're in a meeting. I don't know. This is
Your call has been forwarded to
that's
voicemail.
Ari Yu. Let's call Simon Yu. Are they related?
No, they're actually not. They're
Okay.
both of Korean origin, but they're unrelated.
All right. These are the people at Storm X who were in the meeting where the blackmail situation allegedly occurred. Well, they would say Stephen say it's not blackmail. They threatened to destroy a company or destroy a community. This was said by not you, but your colleague. And the government alleged that it was blackmail as you were going through your deal with this company. One more phone call and then we'll finish up our questions. This is Simon Yu, Storm X. All right, no one's answering the phones this week, except for the guy from the guy, I forgot his name, Van Ness. Everyone else didn't answer the phone. So Stephen, we're going to finish up here with you, and then we're going to talk about the next topic here on our show. But I mean, I guess the question is, this is massive conspiracy that you allege that this was all done to target you. Like a multi-agency coordinated effort to prosecute what you say is a whistleblower for a crime that was fabricated, or is it just? I mean, is it just a guy who may have done something while not illegal, perhaps wrong on some level? Maybe it's not even your fault. It's this other guy that you hired, or maybe you just surround yourself with the wrong people. Couldn't that just be the case?
I could, but it's not, and several reasons why. First of all, it's important to note there is documentation because I was so involved in the formation of Ethereum. I had documentation, in particular one, which Vitalik signed that said they were not decentralized. And I was the only person who understood and knew and had possession of that document other than him and Joe Lubin. And so I was a danger because I had that document. The second thing I would say is when you match up from Bill Hinman and the entire time at the SEC, they went after a company called Ripple, which was sort of a competitor but really no different in many ways to Ether for legal purposes. When you look at that both the timeline and the personnel involved directly track exactly the fabrication of the crime and the prosecution of me. And in fact, I'd say what was really crazy is this prosecution, even though the DOJ said the SEC had nothing to do with it in a court document, the SEC, we proved, were actually behind a criminal prosecution. And they were a civil agency. But the people that were running that criminal prosecution against me were the same people that were giving ETH that free pass speech that you mentioned and going after Ripple.
All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and call Vitalik. This is Vitalik Buterin. I'm going to call him one more time. I've called these people constantly trying to get them on the phone. I would love to hear from them. I've heard from one of them, one of your nemesis. You've got many nemesis. Is nemesis a word? Is plural for nemesis? I don't know.
The truth breeds enemies.
Well,
Please leave your message.
Well, I guess these guys don't want to talk to me, but and then finally, do we still have Michael? Michael, if you're still there, is it possible that this is just your client just may have surrounded himself with some bad people and while having broken the law here? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, you talked about Michael Peters before, right? Michael Halady. The
right.
thing that just sticks out that's very odd about that is it's a guy who was in prison and got out 6 weeks before he was introduced to Steve by a dear friend of Steve, right, as somebody who can help him. And then this is somebody that's in significant contact with the FBI agent who ultimately arrests Steve. And this is a guy who was protected by that very same agent because once Steve found out that that Peters was Halady and had ripped him off, committed this con, he reported it to the FBI, and they didn't do anything. So I don't know if Steve associated with the wrong people, or the wrong people were associated or introduced into Steve's life. Really, I guess that's all I can say about that.
That's what that story interests me, because as someone who's been targeted by the FBI and had my devices confiscated, and had people, chill out the sources and the people that are trying to contact me. If there is evidence, and I know that you've brought up a little bit of circumstantial evidence, but if anybody has any evidence of the United States government purposefully targeting someone because of the principles that they stand for, which in this case are principles of centralization versus decentralization, of true independence and control versus non-control. If more evidence exists, then we want to see that evidence. Whether it's the IRS targeting a Tea Party group, or the FBI targeting a journalist, or the FBI targeting someone who was involved in the founding of Ethereum, we want to see that evidence. Last comments, Michael or Stephen, you have 30 seconds.
I would just, I'm going to say one, and I'll give one to Mike. Another point it was I surrounding myself. We actually found the email that was sent by Jane Doe to an FBI agent stating that she fabricated a loan document directed by Michael Halady, and they prosecuted me on that loan document. And when they showed it to me, I said, that's not my document. And we actually found it, and he responded that he received it. So we found that they fabricated evidence. Mike, maybe you want to talk about the SEC, what they did when I found out about Halady.
Well, I mean, the other thing that we think was significant was the day that Steve found out that this guy Peters was Halady, a con. He obviously cut off all contact, but he called this dear friend that had made the introduction, and then they were messaging, and he accused her of bringing this terrible guy into his life. That same day, the New York office of the SEC, the enforcement division there, sent a subpoena out to Company One for information regarding the ICO Steve had done, and also this alleged extortion that Halady had been involved in. And at the same time, but then when Steve's made a Privacy Act request to the SEC, and they say they have like 14 gigabytes of data on Steve. So it was significant, we thought, because the SEC isn't responsible for investigating criminal conduct, and here it is, they're sending a subpoena, and we thought it was significant. It's the same day that Halady is no longer going to have any influence on Steve, not going to be able to relay information back to the FBI. So that's, I guess, the point.
All right. Well, I appreciate you both joining us, and keep us abreast. We may do a follow-up here on alleged ties to the Chinese Communist Party with cryptocurrency. I need to review more of that evidence, but I appreciate you both for coming on. Thank you.
James, thank you.
All right. So in terms of espionage, I'll just make a comment before we move on to the LGP part of the show. I've studied a little bit about intelligence gathering, and it's interesting if in fact this agent provocateur was inserted by someone. Usually Occam's razor applies, but what's called a cutout in the intelligence community, where you have a target. In this case, target would be Stephen. In previous cases, target was me. And then there's so this is a little complicated with espionage, but Alpha is the original officer, or what they call a facilities agent, and Bravo is the cutout. So Alpha invites the target, let's call him James O'Keefe, to some function, reception party, and they run into Bravo by chance. And Alpha claims to know Bravo, only vaguely, but sufficient to allow him to join them for a period of time during which Bravo makes his number with James O'Keefe and can follow up. Something learned from Alpha's cultivation of James O'Keefe, maybe it's a hobby, personal interest, ongoing issue, is used to introduce the other guy, Bravo, as someone who shares that interest or can help with the problem. And then Alpha can introduce Bravo directly with some level of vouching. Say they have a friend that recommended Bravo. Sufficient is learned about James O'Keefe's pattern of life through Alpha's cultivation that a completely separate approach can be crafted. Perhaps I frequent a certain golf club. particular bar, or I go to the gym at a certain time. Again, with sufficient open source intelligence or human on me, James O'Keefe from Alpha's Cultivation, a honeypot or some other thing is run by Bravo that can be floated in front of them or in front of me that I can find hard to pass up. Undercover work's all about needs. Espionage is all about meeting needs. Now, I'm not a spy. I think the difference between journalism and espionage is journalists operate in the public interest. Spies do not operate in the public interest. Spies seek to gather information to weaponize that information. That is not ever an intent of a journalist. And I think journalism is a more rare thing these days. Most people want to gather information for power's sake. That is not the intent of a journalist. But this whole cutout thing I just described to you, ladies and gentlemen, theoretically, that's what can happen to people like me. And theoretically, I mean, I know that that's happened to people like me because I've been sabotaged. I've had people try to get close to me in order to hurt me, in order to gather information on me. That's why it's important to try to live a life that's transparent, although none of us are perfect. So that's what's called a cutout, where someone can gather information to insert, to be the agent provocateur, the saboteur, to gather intelligence. Something I've learned in my life through the School of Hard Knocks. So we're going to take this quick short break, and then we're going to get to and thank you guys for waiting, the Let's Go Brandon meme coin sparking $1 billion court battle with NASCAR. I've also reached out to NASCAR for comment. We're going to get to that here in just a minute.
You know, the undercover journalism that you've come to love at O'Keefe Media Group, exposing things the public needs to know, is not only risky, very controversial, it's also really expensive. You have to make payroll, hire journalists, pay lawyers. We're super blessed to have folks that will step up and back us financially, who actually have the backbone to support our mission. One of those groups who has the balls to be in the trenches with us is the Wellness Company. The Wellness Company is with us all the way, and I'm so fortunate to have gotten to know them. And let me tell you why you need to know them. I travel all the time. I'm on an airplane 3 weeks out of the month. I'm actually working through a cold as I speak. That's why my voice is raspy. You do not want to get caught unexpectedly without meds when you're traveling. And right now, I'm taking ivermectin for my cold, and it's working. So this kit at the Wellness Company includes 8 life-saving medications: amoxicillin, Z-Pak, as I mentioned, ivermectin if you keep on hand, along with a guidebook for safe use. From tick bites to COVID to extreme bioterror events, Wellness Company has every scenario covered in its emergency kit. Save 15% on your purchase today. Grab a pen, write this down: twc.health/OMG. That's twc.health/OMG. Grab your medical emergency kit right now. Code OMG saves you 15% at checkout.
Okay, Alex Giuliani, are you there? Can you hear me? Alex,
Hey James,
how are you?
nice to be on the Spaces event. Happy to be here.
Great to be with you. We're going from Ethereum to LGB. LGB. What does
ride.
What does
What a
LGB
ride.
stand for?
Let's go, Brandon.
So my understanding is that you are suing NASCAR. Is that right?
We sure are, and we have James on the speakers list as well, who can dive more into that because he's been having first-hand knowledge of the court case itself.
So why don't you tell us where things stand? I mean, from a high level, you've been suing NASCAR to pay up for allegedly backtracking on approval of a race car sponsorship deal. You're suing them for, is it $300 million? Is that right?
1.4 billion.
1.4 billion because they backtracked. The people at NASCAR made some comments about you guys, which you found to be defamatory. So tell us about what's going on. You or James, or you can both speak at the same time.
All right, so I'll briefly start it off with the fact that we had everything approved with Howell Dale, I think it's Dale Howell, regarding the sponsorship with NASCAR, and we had everything in writing. Everything was done properly. We followed all the NASCAR guidelines. and December 31st was when it was leaked that they were going to not approve our sponsorship, and went directly to the media and notified us that way without even telling us directly. And so that completely lost the trust of our holders and completely went against what was said to us directly. And that sparked a huge controversial battle, especially when they started accepting Black Lives Matter sponsors to take our place and to sponsor another driver.
Why did they cancel you guys? Why did NASCAR not want to be involved with you anymore?
They were claiming that it was too political and that Let's Go Brandon is a political coin, but our coin is not political. It's based on freedom of speech and, against deplatforming. So it came off as political just because of the whole chanting that was going on with the Let's Go Brandon speech across sports stadiums. But we turned it around and had it be towards helping veterans and promoting freedom of speech and promoting politicians who align with us in that mission.
So like the devil's advocate would say that "Let's Go Brandon" is a euphemism for "fuck you Biden," which is like the most political charged statement in the history of statements. What's your response to that?
Well, we spun it off.
Take that one, Alex.
Go ahead.
But I think Governor DeSantis said it best. Is that really what the phrase encapsulates is outrage at the media gaslighting conservatives and gaslighting Americans, right? I mean, obviously everyone knew the crowd was chanting "fuck Joe Biden," but when Kelly Stavitz at NBC said, "Oh, they're all chanting 'Let's Go Brandon,' isn't that great?" They were clearly lying to our faces. They were lying to the American people, just as they lied about COVID mandates, just as they deplatformed any opposing voice, yourself included, right? President Trump included, Dr. Robert Malone included. And, a lot of us weren't going to take it anymore. And Alex touched on NASCAR's stated defense that supposedly the coin violated, quote, political guidelines. But NASCAR had no political guidelines. They produced no political guidelines in Discovery. And in fact, the very next day, NASCAR announced a sponsorship on its main social media assets with the Charlotte, North Carolina LGBT Chamber of Commerce. Okay, so not only are they all about politics, it's only about woke politics. Okay, and they were malicious. They went to the media, said the sponsorship was never approved when it clearly was approved in writing. That's defamation. The coin lost $390 million.
So your value was
after they did this.
Your total value of LGB coins reached a peak of $571 million. I'm reading from your lawsuit, and I'm quoting, I guess, you guys. I'm quoting Let's Go Brandon Foundation in the complaint. Bad press associated with the revocation caused the aggregate worth of all LGB coins to decline to 189. That's which was 90 million before where the sponsorship deal was approved. Why do you think they took away your sponsorship?
NASCAR has become a woke organization. I mean, their fan base is about 85% conservative. They don't care about their fan base. Just like we've seen Bud Light aggressively alienate their fan base, Target aggressively alienate conservatives, and it's become a recurring theme in this country. And quite frankly, conservatives should know that NASCAR costs their fans, those people who are politically aligned with them, $400 million in one day.
But what caused them to first sponsor you, and in this, including, you got this NASCAR Director of Racing Operations, Dale Howell, I guess he approved, and then they didn't approve. What occurred to make them change their mind? Because they did approve you to begin with.
They didn't approve. They revoked. Right? They issued the formal approval. Dale Howell approved Brandon's previous sponsorship. He approved Brandon's subsequent sponsorship. So any argument that he wasn't the guy to make that decision is
so he approved it and then he revoked it. But there, I mean, what was the time period which this occurred?
Well, it was all within about 10 days.
So, NASCAR could be alleged to be a woke company, and again, I'm just asking questions. I don't take a particular side or perspective. I just want to understand. But in 10 days, they went from being woke to not woke to woke, or was there some other thing that caused them to revoke this?
You know, it's a good question. They've been very cagey on the discovery. They've claimed privilege on a lot of these internal discussions. But Brandon's team had discussed this with NASCAR about 7 weeks before the sponsorship approval. So in November of 2021, shortly after
we're doing
a couple of months after the phrase had gone viral, Brandon's team talked to NASCAR. NASCAR said, look, we're not going to allow this phrase, let's go Brandon trackside, but, you know, abbreviation is fine. Okay, so I was in the pits with Brandon Brown at the Phoenix Championship in November 21. Wearing an LGB coin shirt. That was approved by NASCAR. Okay, same weekend, there was another driver in the pits with Benny Johnson. That driver said, let's go Brandon, as he'd get into his car. NASCAR banned him. Okay, so any claim by NASCAR that this was a surprise, they didn't know about it, we tricked them, is ridiculous. This was on the radar about 2 months before they approved it. Guessing they got some negative feedback from the woke left or, internal people, and they decided to go back on it. But the law doesn't permit that, right? There's a concept called promissory estoppel that allows people to reasonably rely on promises. I mean, NASCAR knew, this coin was worth over $500 million at the time, yet they went to the media, they said it was worthless.
So
right? They knew they had issued an in-writing approval. They went to the media, so they never did that. Okay, and they knew that the team had put out a press release, and that the number of coin holders went from 5,000 to 11,000.
Let me just interject for a minute. So I have some comments. For those of you who are not familiar with coins or what Let's Go Brandon coin is or what Ethereum is, some people say I don't invest in anything unless I understand it. So, like I'm a third grader, tell me about how this coin, this Let's Go Brandon coin actually works.
Yeah, so it's a meme coin. Really, it's a statement of political speech. It has no functionality, utility. It's not a share of ownership in any kind of company or revenues or anything of that nature. Anyone can make a meme coin. There's hundreds, if not thousands, of meme coins. Dogecoin is the most famous. It was basically a joke about a dog. Elon Musk has been a big supporter of that one. This coin was also a joke. It was minted right about the 10-year anniversary of the MF Global bankruptcy, in which I recovered $6.7 billion pro bono from Obama's biggest donor, John Corzine. I dressed up as the president of China with a Biden blow-up doll for Halloween. Alex, who I never even met at the time, saw a video on an Instagram, and she's like, that should be a coin. I joked to one of my crypto buddies about it. He told someone else. They minted it, and it went from $0 to $400 million in about 10 days.
And what's your background? James?
Yeah, so
James, you forgot to mention about Donald Trump. How
I was actually just going to. Yeah, I mean, the coin was a lot of prominent conservatives' first coins because they believed in the mission. They believe in someone like me who has done a lot of advocacy work on behalf of fraud victims. $7 billion pro bono. But yeah, I'm a lawyer and hedge fund manager, federal whistleblower. From when I was on the board and executive committee of the Commodities Self-Regulatory Organization.
We also have Chris Jensen, David J. Harris, and we have, I think it's Eunice Wong, is that her name, on as well?
Yeah, so real quick, sorry to jump in. I know Eunice was going to be on, and then she's at 4 a.m. when the call was starting in Singapore, and she thought it was getting delayed till 5. She thought she was off. She's like, I'm going to take a nap and get up. So if she's not on, I'm going to apologize because I think she was taking a nap. I sent her a text to...
Well, Chris, why don't you go ahead and, because you're involved, you're the CTO, Chief Technology Officer, is that right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so
I'm a community member, just like James is, of his coin, and they wanted me to be the person to get up and talk about it. So, I do want to say this with us, like, nothing that I say is financial advice. And, if you're listening to this, definitely do, your own research. And, so really excited, though, to give you a little bit of background on us. I mean, Chief Troll Officer was actually Elon Musk's bio, a few months back. And he's since changed it off, but we really like that because of what Elon Musk had done for, freedom of speech, right? Like, he basically came in, he bought Twitter, he turned it to X, and he gave us all censorship-free place to speak. And so, that in itself is a huge thing for what we have. We have the ability to come on here and talk. Also, too, we combined it with crypto because that is a way that we're able to express financial freedom from the government, right? Crypto is way better than the, fiat, I would say, federal banking system reserve, where what we've done is, been able to use crypto in a positive way. So we went on a guy named Kid Carson. He's a big freedom of speech guy, his podcast, and we're sponsoring a girl named Kristen Nagel out of Canada. So she spoke out against COVID mandates, and she came out, wanting to, say the truth and speak her mind. So she got fired over it. She got fined. And just to the extent to where even she went to church and they fined her $12,000. So she's over $100,000+ in fines. It's gotten so bad from the government because they're freezing her bank accounts, making it unlivable for her. She's actually had to move to Costa Rica recently. So she needs people, that can help her out. And during this time, we stepped up as a community to say, hey, look, we're gonna give her coins, some decentralized finance to help her out, because the government can't shut down crypto, right? They can't stop it. It's like the truckers, right, with the freedom movement. If you remember, there was a GoFundMe, and guess what? They froze the GoFundMe for them, right? And so, what crypto does, the positive of it is, once again, the decentralization. You don't have a powers that be that kind of, run, have full control of the banking
Wouldn't the government find a way to control crypto? I mean, we were talking about Ethereum and this FBI extortion. Like, don't you think that's going to happen here? Or how do you prevent that from happening?
So they can, they can try to do anything, but they're not going to be able to. And that's, it's what Steve was talking about. Like, they designed this to where the blockchain is one of the most secure assets out there, right? And now they're actually looking to bring in the institutional money. They just filed an ETF for Ethereum, just like they did for Bitcoin. So now you're seeing, this become incredibly mainstream. And, really that's, I mean, a lot of people that have been censored and had their bank accounts frozen and all these things, they have used crypto to still be able to pay their bills and eat that. And they may not be in the country that seized all their assets and their money, right? But that's how they were able to preserve some of their finances. It's not like they can just, it's not like a bank account where they can go in and freeze your crypto, right? You just keep it on a decentralized wallet or a hard wallet, which is offline, and they can't take it from you. It could if it was on like a centralized exchange, but that's why most people, they don't have their crypto on, centralized exchanges. So, but, when it comes to, like I said, we're helping, Kristen out, and we have a game called Troll Wreck, because once again, we're serious in the sense of freedom of speech, but we also have the same Elon-inspired narrative, right? Where we're trolls in the sense of, like, Elon's always trolling on the internet, right? And I think, James, he's even talked on some of your posts, right? Like, he's always out there talking, and I think that's a fun part of freedom of speech. So we made a game called Troll Wrecked in our Telegram where people can hop in there, they can play the game, and we're taking 15% of any proceeds that would be, gained from it, and we're giving that to Kristen. And so we're kind of we're working on getting to where we can help contribute as absolutely most as we can. We'll be really transparent with everybody. Say, hey, look, we are going to have to, sell off some funds to help her, and then we're going to be.
What's the advantage of again? I'm asking questions that might be stupid questions, but these are questions people ask me. So why would you trust this over, for example, gold or silver?
Well, so I wouldn't necessarily say trust it over. I mean, when you look at the blockchain technology, even Stephen was talking about it, decentralized finance and all these things. It's very hard if I want to fly to, let's say, Costa Rica to take 30 gold bars through the airport, right? But I can take my phone and have the same equivalency in wealth on my phone and travel down there, and it's very easy. And I'm sure you've heard of this. There's people that tried to travel with gold, or let's just say $100,000 in cash, and it's been confiscated, right? And so it's very hard to travel with items like that, especially if you live in a country where they're very, big on censorship, freezing bank accounts, and doing these types of things. So crypto becomes a very good, hedge to protect yourself and your finances, when these types of things happen. And so, like I said, that's the best part about, crypto is to be able to protect yourself, right? Especially in these countries. Like I said, for example, Canada with Kristen is one of them. And, and like I said, we're trying to back freedom of speech. Our next person.
I appreciate that, Chris. There's just a lot of people that want to speak, so I if you want to give some last thoughts, and if there's anyone else on your team that wants to comment on this lawsuit before we go to lightning round.
Okay.
James, the only other thing I'll say, like you asked what the difference was between buying like CTO or buying a meme coin and like buying gold. I think personally, like at least for me, myself speaking, like what kind of impact am I going to have like on the price of gold? It is a little more of a stable asset, but I can buy up all the gold with all the money I have, and I still probably won't have that big of a dent, in like that industry. But with these meme coins right now, everything is community based. You're getting out like what you put into it. So I think people have a real opportunity to utilize their own strengths within the community to help push these projects to the next level. You should see some of the stuff, not only that we're doing, but just the space as a whole is doing to just move these things to unreal levels.
Well, for those of you who are not familiar with this, and I know a lot of people saying that you got to check out the Gary Gensler and XRP lawsuit. The SEC has been trying to regulate crypto for years. Huge case. The XRP, of course, won last year. Won a case. It's not a security, but the Ripple has to pay a fine. Guys, any closing comments about your coin and the NASCAR lawsuit? You're going to litigate this? You're going to go to jury verdict? You're going to go the distance or what?
I'll give the last my last thoughts, and then I'll let James talk. Just to, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to help Chloe happy that Elon Musk is supporting for freedom of speech against Block Inc. and Jack Dorsey. I mean, she was trying to express her freedom of political expressions and got fired. And these are the type of people we want to support. These are the type of projects we want to support. And so I wanted to say that we're not done with this. This isn't our only thing, and so we are. Definitely going to keep fighting this fight and helping as many people as we can. And we'd love to have you guys come in the Telegram with a bunch of like-minded patriots, get to know you guys and help fight this battle with you. So appreciate it, James. Appreciate everything you do. I really do.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate you. It's interesting, this whole world, which most people don't know about, but there is, of course, this ripple effects and developments following this XRP lawsuit, groundbreaking decision that was December 3 months ago, in SEC versus Ripple Labs, and that Judge Annalisa Torres, who issued the summary judgment decision in the SEC versus Ripple case. Annalisa Torres is the federal judge that presides over my case involving the Ashley Biden diary. Same exact federal judge. Judge Annalisa Torres is the federal judge in my case involving outstanding search warrants. The court denied summary judgment with respect to claims against two senior Ripple executives, Bradley Garlinghouse and Christina Larson, who the SEC alleged had aided and abetted Ripple's alleged violations. So, more on this soon, including on the Chinese Communist Party's involvement in this Ethereum gate deal, I look for incontrovertible evidence, not circumstantial evidence, not people opining or conjecturing or presuming or assuming. I don't think that's interesting. I really don't. There's thousands of other people that do that. You can go listen to them. I'm looking for smoking guns. And that means recordings, that means proof, that means admissions, that means people doing the deed. That's all that matters. Everything else is coffeehouse conversation bullshit. That's what I think. And I also don't have much faith in the justice system. Now, if you asked me 2 years ago, I had total faith in the justice system. But after litigating 2 cases, a jury verdict in 3 years, my faith is not in the federal courts. It's in the First Amendment. So we're going to go lightning round in about a moment, and actually in about a minute.
Yeah, and sorry, James, could I actually answer your questions about us going the distance in litigation?
Go ahead, real quick.
Yeah, so listen, we've had a lot of retaliation on this. There's a lot of let's go holders that are prominent conservatives. SEC has tried to subpoena Madison Cawthorn, Candace Owens, and my bank accounts and credit cards. Haven't even alleged the coin as a security. So I actually sued them first, unlike Coinbase and the Krakens of the world and Ripple, who try to cooperate with the SEC. But Gensler was head of the CFTC when I litigated MF Global against his mentor, John Corzine. He is a horrible human being. And I absolutely will take that to the distance and hopefully curtail the SEC.
Who's your attorney in this case? Who's your attorney?
So I am an attorney. We actually just brought on 3 excellent attorneys to co-counsel with me. So they did the crypto red wedding, which was actually 13 class actions filed against crypto projects, and we are the first case where they're actually on the side of the crypto project, given how egregiously wronged we were by NASCAR. So
all right.
firm is Norman Friedland.
Okay, thank you, sir. I appreciate the added information, and I appreciate you guys joining us. We hope to hear from you again soon. Switching gears here a little bit. Before I get to lightning round, last week's episode, we released that story about Trevor. Remember Trevor, the CISA official? So I was driving in my car last night. I got a call. Actually, this was on Monday night. I get a call from No Caller ID. They call my phone, and this strange man calls me in the car, and I have a recording of it. At the end of the recording, I have of it, and we're going to put this out in a minute. But this is the No Caller ID phone number for strange man. They always call me from No Caller ID. They always call me anonymously, threaten me. Now, I don't threaten people. And I always identify myself if I ask for comment. These people don't listen to this.
Get yourself a damn good lawyer, Honey Boo Boo, because you're going to be exposed.
Honey Boo Boo? What's that mean? Hello?
And then he hung up the phone. That was really fast. Play that again for you.
Get yourself a damn good lawyer, Honey Boo Boo, because you're going to be exposed.
Get yourself a damn good lawyer, Honey Boo Boo, because we're going to expose you. Now, this guy had said a moment earlier, I didn't film this quite yet. I always carry on multiple phones. Every time I get a No Caller ID, I start turning on my other phone to record. And he goes, did you know that Trevor was deaf? Trevor is the guy in the CISA video that said Trump was right. Biden doesn't care about trade. He says he doesn't like Trump. So he calls me, this strange man calls me again yesterday. And I know this is coming, so I recorded it as well.
Post the full recording. I never said I worked for CISA. I used to be a donor to Project Veritas. I gave you...
Okay, there's some music over that one. So let me try to find the one without music. Here we go.
Post the full recording. I never said I worked for CISA. I used to be a donor to Project Veritas. I gave you money.
He's asking me to post the full recording of this phone call, and he's saying, I gave you money. Why do people say they give me money like they own me? Like, I gave you money. Do what I say. If anybody tries to make me do something, just because they gave me money, I'm going to record you. so don't even think twice about it. I don't care if you gave 100,000 people have given me money over the last 20 years. Probably 150,000 people. And again, this is the second time this threatening man who says he calls me Honey Boo Boo. Listen to this.
Oh. Post the full recording. I never said I worked for CISA. I used to be a donor to Project Veritas. I gave you money, okay? I never said that. Never said that at all. You targeted a deaf person, and that's why
I targeted? Oh, he said I targeted a deaf person?
targeted a deaf person.
What does he
Said
say?
that at all. You targeted a deaf person.
I tarred a deaf person. Like tarred and feathered a deaf person? What does it matter if he's deaf? I guess he's saying the guy in the federal government that I exposed is hard of hearing? I didn't even know that. What difference does it make if he's hard of hearing or not? What matters is the fact that he works for CISA, the Security Administration, Department of Homeland Security. He's talking about trade. And he's bringing up his disability? Why would he do that?
Never said that at all. You targeted a deaf person, and that's why I came to you as someone who was concerned for you, support you. You targeted a deaf person.
Targeted a deaf? What does it matter whether he is deaf or not?
Deaf. It has a huge difference.
Why does it make a difference?
And I was given your number by someone who used to work for you.
Why does it make a difference whether he's deaf? He doesn't answer my question. Why does it make a difference that the subject is deaf? Am I not allowed to investigate people who happen to be deaf? Remember the old George Carlin comedy? Happens to be black. Happens to be black. He happens to be deaf. His disability didn't stop him from saying all those things. Well, I'm not allowed to investigate people who happen to be deaf. I didn't even know that he was deaf. I still don't know that he's deaf.
Or not. Someone at my house who used to work at one of your programs.
What difference does it make whether he has a disability? Why would you bring his disability into it, sir? What does that have to do with anything? We're calling this a deaf pass? Like a hall pass? We're giving him a deaf pass? Because he's deaf? I don't even know that he's black. He's deaf. Who cares what color or disability? Are you saying that what he's saying isn't true because he's deaf? Then you're discriminating against deaf people, Mr. Honey Boo Boo. Who is this mysterious Honey Boo Boo man? Seriously. People say, James O'Keefe, do not answer your phone unless you know who's calling. I want to answer every phone call because I never know what type of amazing content we're going to. Don't you guys want me to answer the phone calls that I get? Come on. If I don't know who's calling?
This is someone who relies on lip reading.
What does that have to do with what he said about...
He didn't say anything revolutionary.
He said, quote, I don't think I could vote for Donald Trump.
Post the full message. Post the full...
Sure.
Post the full recording, okay?
Does 60 Minutes post the full recording? Okay, hang on the phone. Now he's insinuating that there's something in the full recording that somehow lessens the blow of the shortened recording. So it's just a bunch of hyperbole and innuendo and targeted attacks against us. But this is why I always pick up the phone even when I don't know who's calling. His disability didn't stop Trevor from being a high-level federal employee. Honey Boo Boo. So the question is this a scorned lover? Is this someone in the deep state? Is this really a former Project Veritas donor? I don't know. That's the question. That's the mystery. So we're going to get to lightning round. This is the part of the show where anybody can ask a question or make a statement or do a headline about anything, but you have to reduce it to 30 seconds. People in the crypto community struggle with this. They like to talk for hours, sometimes 20 minutes. We don't have time for that. You have to be able to summarize your thoughts, questions, and comments within 20 seconds. It's a really valuable skill. It's a skill most people don't have. And it's a skill we teach at the O'Keefe Academy, which you can purchase a whole class in how to communicate effectively and write a headline. And we're going to get to that in just a minute. This is the Unplugged phone. They support us. I encourage you, get one of these phones. I'm actually starting to communicate with sources. I am going to the border very soon, going back to the border to do some investigative work. We haven't released most of our footage on the border, and I'm starting to communicate with sources through this Unplugged phone. Unplugged.com/OMG is where you can get one. There's no ad ID. I have mine right here, unplug.com/OMG. Pick up the phone, which I currently use to talk to my sources inside the federal government, and that's what they don't like. They don't want me. They want to control me. That's what it's all about. It's all about control. They want to control me, and control me they will not do. Okay, let's go to. Oh, look who it is, Kais, my friend Kais. How you doing, my man?
I'm doing great, James. How are you? I just came up to say hi. People don't know me, but I was in the investigative journalism event when we had the IRS guy.
Oh yeah, you were there. Kais was there, running after the IRS guy. Kais, we got to go back to New York City. I've got some new recruits, and continue our investigative work. We won't say what we did, but exposing the fraud in New York City. Are you game?
Yeah. James, I came here I want to have your attention a little bit for naked short selling in our financial market.
Well, Kais, you got 15 seconds. We got to go to the next caller, so go ahead, real fast.
Yeah. I'm saying the naked short selling that is destroying corporate America. We can work on uncovering those stories.
Will do. Thank you, Kais. I look forward to seeing the field. Thank you for filming that IRS agent, Kais, although we have to work on your 7-minute mile. Thank you, Kais. If you want to be an OMG videographer, you have to run with a camera a mile under 8 minutes, because the subjects either sprint, physically attack me, say nothing. This is the options. Let's go to John. John, information, education, accountability. Go ahead.
Hi, sir. Thanks for having me. Much respect to everything you do. So very quick, you asked for a video. I just pinned it to the nest. We can see Vitalik from Ethereum confirm he has special backdoors for VIPs. First, who are these VIPs? And second, there shouldn't be any backdoors to a real decentralized network. So this brings a lot of questions, and I followed up to my own reply with a lot of information. Feel free to check it out.
Thank you very much for posting that. Vitalik, if you're listening, we'd like to talk to you. Let's go to Corey. Corey Kaiser, go ahead. Corey, going once, going twice. Let's go to Dallas. Go ahead. Dallas Rushing.
James, good to see you again. Glad you're doing this space, man. Yeah, I think you are just starting to definitely scratch the surface of a lot of the centralization and sort of corruption around the nature of the start of Ethereum. You started to dig into consensus. I think people should very much look into that. Look at JP Morgan's involvement, and ultimately I think that Ethereum is sort of a way that the legacy system sees that they can kind of Trojan horse their way into sort of Bitcoin and the extensions beyond that. I think, stable coins are one way that they do that. People feel that stable coins are, in their own possession because they have their keys, but at the contract level of USDC and any stable coin on, ETH or an EVM chain, right, they can obviously freeze your assets or pull those back. So they're already sort of, pseudo CBDCs without some of the more negative, targeting user specific kind of things that might exist with CBDCs. But so there's that, right? And then, very recently, ETH obviously made that change over to proof of stake. And, most people think they kind of compare something like ETH with Bitcoin. And you say, hey, 51% attack on Bitcoin. How's anyone going to get 51% of the supply of ETH? It's not how it works, right? You need to have really a third of the staked ETH, which is about 7% of the supply, or 50% of the staked ETH to really start doing some incredible damage to the network at the protocol level. You can, really stop.
And we're just pulling up the video here from Vitalik, who confirms the network has special back doors for VIPs.
Next year is they want to start taking off training wheels, right? So the rollups and layer 2s that exist on Ethereum today, they basically all have what I call training wheels, like some kind of backdoor that lets developers come in and say stop and change the protocol if they see that some kind of bug has happened.
So Dallas, do you think that Nairov was targeted because he believes in decentralization?
Possibly. Admittedly, I don't know enough about him and his story. I obviously caught the video you put out, but I think that's, there's definitely been people who are decentralization or maximalists trying to do things in the right way who are targeted by people who want to ensure that they still have control. Now, I don't know if there's like necessarily, back doors that exist, right? Because all of the code that runs Ethereum is obviously on chain for people, but within apps and contracts, there no doubt people can look at who holds the keys that created those apps and contracts, and the protocol is subject to change by people, right? There's regularly like Zoom calls of a handful of core developers, and I think it's anybody's guess as to how many people might have been targeted or discussed or compromised as to kind of guiding the direction at which Ethereum continues to be something that's more centralized. And if it is, then what are we really doing here, right? Like, blockchain's not the innovation. Blockchains can be absolute, tools of control if they're programmed incorrectly, and you need something that ensures that your funds are your funds in your wallet, and no one can mess with that if they don't have the seed phrase or the words, and nobody can stop people from transacting. And unfortunately, I think ETH is very much moving in a direction towards being state captured, and I don't think that that's good for anybody if that happens. So
Thank you, sir. Let's go to John. You there, John?
Yes, sir.
You got 30 seconds. Go ahead.
Well, there's way much more. Ethereum was a proof of work. The way they managed to move it to proof of stake was to get a hold of the trademarks. So as soon as they got the trademarks, they managed to force the hands of the major exchanges to accept the proof of stake version. So now there's two versions. There's the old classic and there's the new proof of stake. We have to mention that since Ethereum proof of stake has been around for not so long, the scams in the crypto space have exploded. So right now, I think this is from 2022 or 2023. The numbers were staggering. Over 90% of all scams in crypto comes from the Ethereum network, from the proof of stake network.
Okay, John, thank you. Let's go to Chris. You got your hand raised. Less than 30 seconds, please.
Yeah, just real quick, and I know we're talking about freedom of speech and stuff, and would you mind, since we didn't get a hold of anybody, calling Elon about Chloe Happ and how he's helping her out?
Yeah, if someone can get in touch with Elon, that would be fine to see his response. We appreciate that, the thought of that. Blessed, go ahead. You're muted.
Let's see. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, you're live on the inside with James O'Keefe across all platforms. Go ahead.
Got you. Yo, it's a pleasure to talk to you, man. I'm a huge fan. Sorry, I'm kind of currently sick right now, so my voice is not really working with me right now. But yeah, man, just want to thank you for exposing all the corruption that's going on and all the shit that you're doing, man. Just a huge fan. And also, I really love your new song.
Is that the What Are You So Afraid Of on Spotify?
Yes.
With Spirit. We're going to be making more music like this.
Dude, I can't wait, man. I was kind of surprised when I heard about it. I was like, what? You make music now, too? Since I'm an artist as well, I just thought, dude, that's cool.
I think you have to be an artist to be a journalist. I think if you're politically motivated, you're more interested in power, whereas if you're artistically motivated, you're more interested in telling the truth and telling the story of the truth. And I found the people that are best doing this are people who are artistically motivated, not politically motivated. It makes all the difference in the world that you have a good heart. And I'm not sure that most people in politics have good hearts. It's almost like they just seek political coercion. But you make music?
Yes, sir.
Well, wait, let's talk.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say real quick. So I'm friends with Debbie. She told me to just hop on here real quick. I asked her if there was any chance I could just say hi to you real quick. Again, I'm not too invested in crypto. I mean, I am, but I'm not educated enough to talk about it on here with you guys. So, but yeah, man, I just wanted to thank you real quick and just hop on here and say hi.
Appreciate the comment. Appreciate the support. Stay tuned for more music. It's on Spotify. It's on Apple iTunes.
Yeah, man, I shared it. Yo, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's What Are You So Afraid Of by James O'Keefe and Spirit the Rapper. Let's go to Aussie XRP. Go ahead. Aussie, you're live.
Yeah, good day, James. Okay, thanks very much for everything you do. Pray for your protection. I just wanted to jump in here quickly. If you're talking about Eastgate, they're sort of talking about now, picking holes in where they move from proof of work to proof of stake. But the corruption actually goes right the way back to the disguised whales, right at the sort of genesis moment of Ethereum. And people in the XRP community have been talking about this, till we're blue in the face for a couple of years now, and it's all just been falling on deaf ears. No media wants to talk about it. No one wants to talk about it. And there's a guy down there giving 100% right now, Cowboy Crypto. He is one of the best investigators in the world. So you two definitely need to hook up, James. I'm rubbish at it. I've tried at it before, but guys like that and Wheezy, along with YouTubers like DAI, they've got a timeline from right at the start, right to the end, with videos that are now getting wiped off X still.
Why do you think they're getting wiped off X still?
They're getting wiped. The audios are getting taken from out of them, and
Well, why is the audio being wiped off X? X is a pretty.
I don't know. It's the two recent examples that are the videos of the Comex 589 stuff. So interviews with people talking about that theory are just getting wiped. You can't listen to them. So the censorship is still there, and you've got to certainly dig around and look for your information. But yes, certainly there's a few guys in our community that have turned into superb investigators. And Cowboy Crypto, for listening, mate, I tip my hat to you 100%. James, obviously, everything you do, you're brave, and I do really respect it. And ETHgate is a massive, massive deal.
All right, thanks for the comment. Love your accent. Where are you from?
Thanks, mate. I'm originally from England, but I'm in Australia now, eh?
You got England and Australia merging together in your accent there. I love accents. I have to use them sometimes. Yeah, I love it. All right, thanks. Let's go to Kenny B. Valkyrie, snowboarder. Go ahead.
Hey, yo, what's up, James? Long-time listener, first-time caller. I was wondering if through this investigation, you guys were able to contact Charles Hoskinson, who was one of the original founding members of Ethereum, who was, he was so turned off by the way things were running, he actually left, gave all of his Ethereum to his secretary, and started a new chain where he does not touch VC money, and he seems like it's almost like he's just repulsed by anything coming from VC.
Who is Charles? He was the CEO of Ethereum. What was his title?
So he was the co-founder of Ethereum, and he left the Ethereum Foundation, and now he works at Input Output IOHK.
Just to show you how good my team is, I have his cell phone number. I'm going to call it right now.
Welcome to Verizon Wireless.
Oh boy, he shut his cell phone down. People, none of
very active on X.
None of these people want to actually.
Verizon Wireless.
None of these people actually want to talk to me. The only guy who did was Van Ness from that other firm, Consensus. But we'll keep trying to get through to Charles Hoskinson. Thanks for the call. Appreciate it very much. Let's go to hey Mattia, are you there? Mattia.
Yes, I am here. How are you, James?
How are you doing this week?
I am doing fantastic. Thank you.
What's on your mind?
I just wanted to say, like, it's so fascinating hearing your brain and how you observe things. I could not agree more with your astute observation about the differences, between those in politics and those who are driven towards it, and those in journalism. I have worked in government and politics, and I have seen the exact same thing. It's very difficult for people who are in government or politics to maintain that good heart posture, but those who are very creative tend to flourish in the journalistic route. So for anybody listening who is more artistic or not so power driven and you want to maintain that good heart posture, definitely plug into what you're doing, but also journalism in general. Just incredible observation on your point.
Thank you, Matea. It's always good to hear from you. You know, I thought a little about this. The pursuit of the good, the true, and the beautiful is a virtue. It's something that we're all trying to do, which is to be good, not evil, right? Good versus evil, beautiful versus ugly. and truth versus false. And that's what I think we're trying to do. We're trying to get to revelation, to reveal, to illuminate the world around us. And I posted this quote. I think it was originally from Ayn Rand. Regardless of what you think of her, it still stands true about achievement and the hatred of good. Evil hates good. Why does evil hate good? Because good possesses something that evil doesn't have. Good possesses the virtue that evil does not have. And think of it as a form of envy. Evil is envious of good. And we live in the age of envy, hatred towards virtues, not vices. There is literally hatred coming at people. I surround myself with and truth tellers and other truth tellers, hatred towards their virtues, not their vices. And it's because good tends to possess things that evil does not have. And that's really something I've learned in the last, I would say, few months, last year of my life. And it's only going to get worse. So I think there's a relation there too. Being an artist, being a storyteller, being a truth teller, and pursuing the good, the true, and the beautiful. Now, if you're focused on politics, poly meaning many, and ticks meaning blood-sucking insects, to use the Greek politics, you're not focused on the good, the truth, you're focused on winning. So really, really important distinction. Thank you for highlighting it, Matei. I appreciate that very much. Let's go to Schwamos. All I know, one XRP worth more than AAA $. Go ahead.
Hi, James. We love you from Dubai. I just want to say thank you for exposing the truth about the corruption of Ethereum. And thank you. You're the first of the journalists who are independent patriots. The first one who said that XRP is not a security. I hear it from you, man. Thank you so much. I would like to tell you that I'm not from the United States, but you know, the state in the US, it's handling all the economy in the world. And I'm one of the first who invested on the XRP. And we've been harmed and lost money because the lawsuits from the SEC against Ripple. We lost a lot of money. I believe that people lost billions of dollars because of the SEC. So we would like to bring the facts on the table and to fight against the corruption of the SEC, and also to bring the facts on the table why Jay Clayton sued Ripple and then left the SEC. We'd like you to expose that. And I would like to see with John Deaton at the table. I would be very happy.
Well,
thank you so much, James.
Thank you.
Fighting. We support patriot like you. And XRP is not a security. And thank you so much for that.
Thank you very much. And in terms of the Securities and Exchange Commission, I mean, if you haven't pissed off CISA, the FBI, Pfizer, BlackRock, the Pentagon, the Cybersecurity Department of the Executive Office, Eisenhower Building of the White House, Google, CNN, the New York Times, and Facebook. Now we're going to go ahead and piss off the Securities and Exchange Commission. Right? Someone close to me said, don't investigate the IRS, James. Come on, don't do that. I am going to investigate all of the above. And I'm not taking a position on this. If you're inside the Securities and Exchange Commission, reach out to us on Signal, on Instagram, DM. Most people Instagram DM us, actually. It's wild that I'm getting DMs in my Instagram from people in the federal government. I guess they slide into the DMs. They slide into the DMs rather than contact us on encrypted software. And hint, hint, maybe, just maybe, the month of April, you know, April showers bring May flowers. Maybe this month we're also going to investigate the Federal Reserve. How about that? Would you like that if I did that? Did some undercover work inside the Federal Reserve Bank? Would you like that? So I'm happy to do that, and I'm happy to release that. I just ask that you all have our back and support our work. I think it's time to investigate the Securities and Exchange Commission, but more importantly, the Federal Reserve. What do you say? Let's do that together, and stay tuned for next week. Hint, hint. On the Inside with James O'Keefe every Wednesday, 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock, sometimes 4:30 to 6:30 Eastern Time. on Spaces, on X, on YouTube, on Rumble. Until next time, if you're lying, cheating, stealing, or scamming, you may be the next unwilling internet celebrity. Stay tuned.
James, before you go, just quickly,